Welcome to the Next Brave Step podcast. My name is Chelsea Wise. Each week, we'll dive into how you can cultivate more joy, curiosity, and dare I say confidence to show up and do the work to achieve that vision of your life that maybe you've been just a little too afraid to even whisper out loud to anyone else just yet. This is a show for creatives who are ready to take themselves seriously, attract their dream clients, and build a business that reflects what they want for their life. I'm so grateful you're here. So let's go ahead and dive into the episode.
When we sit down and decide to start a photography business, the chances are you're probably using the internet to spread the word about your business. For those of us in business trying to drive organic traffic, Google is the all-powerful genie. Google is the world's best search engine for quite a few reasons. It's kind of believed that Google's success came from its desire to provide a high-quality result for each individual user. So this means that understanding the search's intent and finding the most accurate and relevant websites to match whatever it is that you're searching for is what really made Google stand out from all the competition. Google really focuses on its users and ensuring that they get the information that they want. Google also does a really great job of sharing results with its users based on locations, which is super incredible for service-based photographers like ourselves. So why do you want to show up first on Google? I've got some stats for you, so buckle up. One study showed that following click-through rates by Google positions, this is kind of what they showed. The first results had a 36.4% click-through rate. The second result had a 12.5% click-through rate, and the third result had a 9.5%. So you can see that it really falls off pretty quickly, and there's only about 10 results per page. So when we can rank on that first page and towards the top of that first page, we have a much higher chance of people finding us when they're searching for, say, a Wisconsin wedding photographer. So how does showing up on Google, especially the first page of Google, actually help you as a photographer? Let's go ahead and give you a couple examples. So let's say that you are going to open a studio space and you have two different locations to choose from, right? As far as what the spaces look like, they're exactly identical on the inside. Okay, beautiful windows. If you want to use windows, if you're using studio lights, got the high ceilings, whatever it is that your studio location has, both of these insides look exactly the same. Okay, but one of them is on a very busy main street in the middle of town with a lot of foot traffic, a lot of car traffic. There's people passing by your window to see any displays as they grab their coffee, or maybe they go to check their P.O. box or grab lunch, right? So that's the first option. Now, the second option for you to choose to put your studio space is on this quiet side street where hardly anybody ever walks. There's really no traffic. The bushes are probably covering your front window display. So even if someone did walk past, they probably would have to pay really close attention to see what it is that you even offer. So if both of these places were exactly the same price, which one would you choose? I'm guessing you would probably choose the busy street, right? You want your studio to be visible. This is what showing up the number one on Google can do for you as a photographer. So how do we actually show up as number one or on that first page of Google as a photographer, right? So getting on the first page of Google is not only a common goal amongst photographers, but it's also a very feasible one. Google is not focused on quantity, but on quality. This means that you don't have to be this big studio or have this huge marketing budget to get to the top. There's several factors behind Google's algorithm, but Google has a few different spots that you can show up as the number one photographer. So let's go ahead and talk about the 3 different places that you can show up on Google. So one of the main ways is through blog posts and website pages. This is what's going to show up in your organic results. The next one is going to be Google My Business account. And that is where you're going to show up for location-based things, so in the map section. And the third way that you can show up on Google is by your images. So let's go ahead and start with blog posts and website pages. Each page or blog post that you create on your site should have a few extra special things in order to make sure that they're improving our SEO. And if you're not familiar with what SEO is, SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. So basically, it's a fancy word for some of the back ends of your pages that Google kind of reads through in order to really understand what your page is about, what your website is about, so that it can decide whether or not it's going to match what someone is searching for. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is your meta title. So your meta title is the title of your page, and this is where you want to use keywords wherever possible. So keywords are things that people are going to be searching for. So in my case, that might be something like Manhattan, Kansas wedding photographer or Kansas wedding photographer, right? So I want to make sure that I am including keywords in that meta title. So adding these keywords into your titles on your pages is going to help Google kind of catalog that one, I'm a wedding photographer in the Manhattan, Kansas area. These titles are about 60 characters long, so you want to keep that in mind. You have about 60 characters that you can use to name your pages, right? So the next one is your meta description. So we have your title and then your description. So your meta description is basically a little blurb that shows up under the title in Google searches and describes what it is that your page is about, what this page, if they click on the link, what it's going to tell them. But it not only tells Google, but it also tells readers. Like when you search on Google, you'll see the little heading that pops up in either blue or purple if you clicked on it before. And then underneath it, that little description, that is your meta description. So readers can read through that and decide if your page is going to be relevant for whatever it is that they are looking through. And this really helps to ensure that you're getting relevant clicks, which is going to rank you higher over time in Google. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is your URL. So your URL consists of your domain name. For me, that is chelseawise.com, and then it's followed by a / and then text that is separated by dashes. So anytime that you would have a space, there's a dash. So you can also include keywords in your URL, which will help Google more quickly identify what your page is all about. So those are kind of the three things as far as your blog posts and website pages are concerned. So you've got your meta title, your meta description, and your URL. Those are three things that you need to make sure that you are paying attention to anytime you publish a new page on your website or anytime you hit publish on a blog post, okay? Okay, so now we're going to talk about how you can show up on Google as far as the maps and location area. So this is where you're going to make sure that you are logging into Google My Business. Basically, if you go in and you search for Google My Business, I also have that linked down below in the show notes as well, so that you can click on that and find it. But that's where you're going to keep your listing up to date. So your listing is where you're going to share your address. You can also share your service areas. So maybe you are like physically located in one area, but you also serve another area, which is something relevant to me. So right now I live in North Dakota and I photograph weddings in North Dakota, but I also photograph weddings down in Kansas. So I can set that location area to both spots, which is really, really handy, right? You can also ensure that you have your phone number on there if you'd like to, and you can set your hours if you are like a studio that someone could walk into. It also kind of helps people know like when they can call you, when they can't call you. It'll also have like the links to your website there and email addresses as well. So that is kind of where you kind of keep that listing. You can kind of think of that as like your yellow book listing, right? You've got your phone number and all that information in a concise little thing. So we've got the organic searches with your websites and blog posts. And then you've got your Google My Business listing, which is kind of like that, yellow page ad, right? If someone were to kind of look it up, that's where it would find you. And that's how they can find you as far as your location. So if they're looking for photographers in my area, that's when it's going to pull you because your physical location will be in close proximity to wherever that person is searching from. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the third way that you can show up on Google, and that is images. Now, we as photographers do not lack images to share on the internet at all. That's for sure, right? Now, it's said that photos are worth 1,000 words, but that's not exactly the case with Google because Google can't really actually see your images, right? It's not an actual person looking at your images to decide, this is what's in it. And that's where your text alternative or alt tag comes in. And this is where you can include keywords that Google can use to further detect the relevancy of a page, and it feels more comfortable putting you first in a page results research, right? So you can go in and you can, even before you upload images to your website, you can hide your keywords inside your images. Basically, it kind of takes all that information in there. So you can, put, bride and groom at the Prairie Berry Winery in South Dakota, fall wedding, Chelsea Wise photography, right? That's something that I could put in my image before I even share it onto the internet, which is, kind of an ingenious way of ensuring that one, your images are being credited towards you, but also they're working for you, even if you don't take the time later on to change that alt tag whenever you are quickly, writing a blog post or something along those lines. So it's something really handy that you can do as well. So if you're feeling like this is kind of, a very tech heavy episode, it is, I get it. It's a lot to understand. It's a lot to remember. And that's exactly why I put together a free resource just for you. And it's called the SEO checklist for photographers. Now, this is a checklist that you can run through each and every time that you write a blog post or you create a new page on your website so that you can ensure that you're making sure that it's ready for Google to kind of crawl through it and understand what that page is about so that you can work on moving up the ranks and ranking towards the top, or if not even number one on Google for your area or your niche or whatever it is. So if you want to get your hands on this SEO checklist, all you have to do is head over to chelseawise.com/blogging. And there's actually a couple different things over there that you can grab. This checklist will be over there. And there's some other little goodies if you are really starting to get into the thinking about blogging for your business, for your photography business. There's some really great freebies that are over there. I'll be talking about those later on in a few episodes. But, if you want to get your hands on it, just head over to chelseawise.com/blogging. And again, we'll have that link down in the show notes as well. And I also want to remind you guys, we talked about back in episode number 5 that SEO is a long game marketing technique, but it is so worth the time to invest in it to see your business, rank towards the top of Google, because the higher you are, the more people that are going to be able to see you when they're searching for what it is that you offer. It's going to take some time, so don't get discouraged. Continue to produce those high quality blog posts. Really try to help educate and inspire clients in your area so that, you become this person who, knows what they're talking about and is known for whatever it is that you offer, whether it's pet photography, family photography, wedding photography, boudoir. You can become the go-to photographer in your area. You just have to decide that that's what you want to do and start creating content that positions you as the expert. And each time that you're creating this long form content on your website, make sure, please, that you are ensuring that you're using SEO to your advantage. At the beginning, it really feels a little cumbersome to go through and edit all of these things, but eventually it does come like second nature, and you will see the reward at the end of really just putting in the work and doing these tiny little tweaks to ensure that you're showing up where you need to show up relevantly. I know that social media, it's so tempting to just focus all of our marketing techniques there, or all of our work for marketing in social media, because there is such an instant gratification. And I understand that. Like, I love seeing, that numbers, those follower count grow, or, waking up to see that a reel performed really amazing, right? That instant gratification is awesome. But honestly, it's here today, gone tomorrow with a lot of, the social media fads of things and how it moves and changes, which is exciting. It's fun to play with. But if you're really looking for a long-term proven strategy, SEO blogging is where it's at. And I think you should have a healthy dose of both. And I know we've talked about this before, but I kind of want to reiterate that a little bit in this episode as well, because it's a lot to remember to, make sure that you're using these keywords and all of the things, but it is so worth it. So again, if you want to get your hands on that SEO checklist for photographers, it's going to run you through exactly all of the things that you need to make sure that you are ensuring is geared up just right before you hit publish on those blog posts or before you even publish a new website page. You can get your hands on that if you go to chelseawise.com/blogging. Again, you can find the link to that down in the show notes as well. All right, guys, that is it for this episode. I will catch you next time on the Next Brave Step podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Next Brave Step podcast. I hope you enjoyed diving deep into all the tips and tricks that you can use to help cultivate more joy, curiosity, and courage to create the business that works for your goals, not the goals of others. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would be so grateful if you could share it with others and leave a rating and review. As always, you can head over to the nextbravesteppodcast.com to download your free list of 55 blog post ideas for photographers. You can also find all the links and resources there in the show notes. That's it for this episode. I'll catch you next time. Bye.